Hey y'all. So, if y'all follow me, you know that I am fresh off a rant about Cody Brown. This is scary. But I have been getting a lot of comments from people who either dropped off from Sister Wives in the first few seasons or have just been seeing stuff about the drama on social media and want to catch up and get a little refresher course. So I thought I would do a little crash course to catch y'all up if you want to watch the newest season without going through all the boring seasons where they act like everything is okay. That's what I'm going to be doing today, and we will go ahead and start with the adults in the Brown family. So since this is a patriarchy, we will start with Cody Brown. He was raised in the Mormon church, but not as a fundamentalist Mormon or a polygamist until he was a teenager, I think an older teenager, and that eventually influenced him to also become a fundamentalist when he decided to get married. And after he joined a more conservative church, he met this lady right here, Mary Brown. Well, she had a different name before that, but they hit it off, and she was his first wife with the full intention of him marrying other wives in the future because she was raised in fundamentalist Mormonism, this particular sect which practiced polygamy. Mary had a friend, Janelle, who was a mainstream Mormon, but she met Cody over here and decided maybe she wanted to be a polygamist now. So after divorcing Mary's brother, she ended up marrying Cody, but not before Cody's father had married her mother. I'm pretty sure they met because these guys, because they were at like family events and stuff with these guys. Cody's dad had decided to practice polygamy. I don't think he had until he met Janelle's mom, though. He had been only married to one woman, so that's a whole other thing to unpack at a later date. So Cody got married to Mary in 1990 and Janelle in 1993, and a little over a year later to Christine in 1994. And the reason they give in the show for this is because Mary and Janelle were not getting along, and for some reason everybody involved thought that a third wife would help with that. And to Christine's credit, it did. She's a very bubbly, happy person, so it did work as a good buffer for a little bit, but as we all know, or at least those of us who have watched the show, it did not work forever. So flash forward to 16 years later, Janelle has 6 kids with Cody, Christine has 6 kids with Cody, Mary has 1 kid with Cody. She's been very open about her infertility issues, and it's 2010. And Cody is introduced to Robin through Mary, who meets her at church. And Mary starts hinting that they should be courting Robin, but Cody initially has the ick a little bit for Robin because she is a divorced mom of 3, which in their religion is a little bit of a no-no. But after a while, he decides they're a good match and he starts courting Robin for marriage, which if you don't know what courting is, it's just a term for dating that means dating with the intention of marriage. It's like pre-engagement, but engagement. So Cody and Robin are engaged to be engaged. She moves to be close to them in Utah, and we'll get more into that at a later date. But the next thing you need to know about these guys is they have moved 3 times, and it's important to know because as a big family like this with many children from different women, how you live and where you live definitely affects the family culture. And when we meet them in season 1, they are in one big house in Utah, which isn't that odd for Utah, especially in the area they lived in where polygamy wasn't that uncommon. But in early season 2, they say they have to move from their home in Utah because of the increasingly strict polygamy laws in Utah, which have been in flux since Mormonism has been a big influence in that state. And initially, if you don't know, polygamy was a founding tenet of Mormonism. So the first Mormons to come to Utah were mostly polygamist, and they denounced it in the late 1800s, I believe. Don't quote me. I don't know. But anyway, after that, they decide to move to Las Vegas because it's the closest place they can get to that they deem like pretty progressive as far as family and relationship structures, and they assume they're not going to be bothered too much about the polygamy thing there. And once they get to Las Vegas, pretty quickly they find this like cul-de-sac of homes where each wife has their own house, and they're in this little half circle where they can all visit each other, walk to each other's house. It's kind of an ideal setup for a polygamist, you would think. And also, real quick, just because I haven't seen a lot of people go into depth into it on TikTok, especially, in the early years of the show, they are members of the Apostolic United Brethren, in which I believe Mary, Christine, maybe Robin, but she was, if not, she was raised in something similar, is an offshoot of Mormonism. It's a fundamentalist Mormon sect that practices polygamy and a few other questionable things, but we can go into that later. But Christine's grandfather actually founded it. His name was Rulon C. Allred, and her dad was his son. Another crazy story we can go into later, but he was murdered by other Mormons from another sect. We'll save that for another time. But anyway, among other things, this sect of Mormonism believes that the more wives a man has, the easier it is for him to get into the highest level of heaven. Again, something I can go into later in more depth if y'all want, but I have limited time right now. So when Robin came into the family, she was a divorced mother of 3. She had 3 children by her first husband, and as of today in 2023, she has 2 biological children with Cody. They're both very young. They're the youngest in the entire family. But from the beginning, it was an issue for Robin how much time Cody spent with her, even when they were engaged. I remember that being a whole segment of the show. So they moved from Utah because of the laws, quote unquote. Some people don't necessarily believe that. Some people have some conspiracy theories as to why they moved from Utah. Again, something I would have to get into at another time because I'm limited. But they're in Las Vegas, and the show would make you believe that was pretty happily. Like, it seemed like they were getting along okay. And then kind of randomly, they moved to Flagstaff, Arizona out of nowhere. And that's only been in like since 2018, the last few years. So they go from living in one house before Robin and to living in a cul-de-sac, all where you can walk to each other's house, to living in Flagstaff where they're all miles apart from each other. And that starts to really contribute to the breakdown of the family. And then COVID happens, and there's this whole drama with they've been separated for so long by miles by this point, by the time COVID comes around. And when COVID does come around, Cody gets weird and paranoid and makes this long list of rules for each wife to abide by. And he kind of judges them morally based on how well they abide by his rules, but at this point he's spending the most time at Robin's house, and because of that she's abiding by the rules the best. So she is the most moral in his eyes, or the other wives deem her as getting unfair time. And I feel like that's a good foundation for the background, but I'm definitely going to have to elaborate more and go over the scandals, so I'll have to have multiple parts. So I will see you in part 2.